This is Daybreak. Thanks for staying with us. The hashtag on X is Citizen Daybreak. The SMS code is 22422 at Citizen TV Kenya and at Ayub Abdikadir. Wakili Edward Moreo is the lawmaker representing Gatanga Constituency Council. Nelson Harvey is also with us this morning in studio. Dr. Makali Mulu is the Member of Parliament, Kitui Central Constituency, and Duncan Mathenge, Nyeri Central, a member of the Health Committee of the National Assembly. Thanks for staying with us, gentlemen. Council Harvey, how did you get here? Where did if we are to trace this, the original scene, and do you think the sinners will be brought to book, given what the Auditor General has talked about, the loss of billions of shillings in flagship projects by the administration?
We've gotten here because throughout our history, we've never sat down after a regime change to punish for transgressions of an outgoing regime. That's the main problem. We identified the problems that had bedeviled Kenya during the administration of President Uhuru Kenyatta. And we were all affirmative that as soon as we get into office, we'll take these steps to remedy it, to deter, to ensure that there is no repetition of this. But what do? We end up taking over the nefarious institutions, the cartels, the enterprises that we had condemned, and continue with them as if nothing happened. What can we do now?
Yeah.
You see, details often tend to obscure the truth. We're not interested in details. Monies have been stolen. Public funds have been pilfered. We are least interested in knowing what the committees do. You cannot tell me that it is expected
under the Social Health Authority, the challenges facing...
Proceed.
Sorry. You cannot tell me that it is expected of the DCI to investigate a heist of the magnitude of 900 million per day, 104 billion per month. It won't happen. Nobody will be brought to book. But are we handicapped? No, we're not handicapped. As I said before, the role and the main role of the National Assembly is oversight, to bring to account people. So our colleagues should not tell us that this matter will go to the DCI. The DCI will not do anything. You expect the DCI to come and investigate the President of the Republic of Kenya? You expect the DPP to go and prosecute the President of the Republic of Kenya? It won't happen. It's bullshit. So what we must do is to do the right thing.
Which is impeachment.
Yeah. Everybody responsible for these enterprises must be called to account. Because
Parliament can censure the Cabinet Secretary for Health because of the procedural manner in which the procurement regulations were violated, and the head of state who...
But let me just have...
Yes,
you see,
you had said.
Look at the front page of the Standard. Yeah, the level of layering.
The beneficiary
in corporate law, this layering is indicative of fraud. Fraud of so high a magnitude that is beyond the comprehension of the DCI to undertake. But as I've said, in cases of this kind, details are unnecessary. Execution is the only option. You need to execute your mandate. So our colleagues here in Parliament must take decisive action now. And you see, it's failure on their part that has prompted citizens to go to court helpless. Because whereas the people are domiciled with the ultimate sovereign, they have given it to the elected leaders to exercise in the interim, so that we are not left in an archaic situation where we take the law into our hands. Has it been done before? It's done in Korea every day. The other day they impeached the president. When the deputy president who had been constituted acting president failed to complete the impeachment of the president, they proceeded to impeach the acting president. You understand? So these questions must be asked. Answers must be given. And we are not interested in details.
Okay, and you doubt the capacity of the Directorate of Criminal Investigation, so players within the criminal justice system. How about Parliament? Do you think it can exercise the impeachment power given to it by Katiba?
They exercised this power not so long ago on the Deputy President.
The Deputy President.
On much less offences. Much less offences. What did he pilfer? What did he do? Other than being a clown? No. I mean, we need to be honest.
Okay.
And fundamentally, in fact, I was grappling. It took me 15 minutes to remember who was the minister for the time being in charge of public health. Because these are poodle puppies put in place to hide nefarious enterprises by the hyenas. This is a commercial enterprise, it's not social health. You understand? We need to be told what's happening. You see, the other day, and this has been the day-to-day activity of our former friends in Kenya Kwanza, UDA in particular. Every Saturday, every Sunday, they're doing a fundraiser in a church to raise money. Look, when we struggled for independence, we ended independence from three things: illiteracy, poverty and disease. We didn't want illiteracy from sin. No, sin must always be here. It will never depart from us. So we want you to raise funds to go and build schools, to raise funds to go and build hospitals. So when you tell us you have 5 million, 20 million for the building of churches, Ayub, I've never seen them come to your mosque and say, we'll raise 5 million for the building of this mosque. I mean, the gullibility of Christendom must come to an end because it's never experienced in Islam.
Okay. Honorable Muri, yes. This is certainly a defining moment, but how do you take advantage of the momentum that is continuously slipping away from the members of the National Assembly and the House where you sit?
I would say that it is not, the moment is not slipping away. But let me say, we are in the, we're not doing the process, but we are properly mandated, both in law and fact, to be able to deal with these issues. But it's also important and honest to mention where the weaknesses are. Now, for example, my colleague there who sits in the health committee, they summoned the CS, PS, health, and the SHA team, and they went to Mombasa. And we expected them to come back having gotten proper answers on this issue of SHA. Sadly, and this is on record, they give it a clean bill of health. Now, they did not ask questions on how the SHA was procured, the value proposition of an account on a computer system where you pay 104 billion. You know, Abdikadir, I think you become numb to numbers in this country. 104 billion is so much money for a system. Over and above that, they never came back to present to Parliament on why you would buy a system at such astronomical figure at 104 billion and then continue paying 5%, 2.5% at every stage of treatment. Clearly, it's like you buy a house at 104 billion, but continue paying rent, and yet you don't have the keys to that house. It does not make sense. So I would say there are weaknesses in terms of the committee, because even the people have been given a responsibility to unearth some of these things before they get to this level, they are failing this country. It's good to put the problem where it is. Of course, the head of all this corrupt syndicate is well known.
Who is it?
It's well known. There's nothing which happened in this country without the finger of the executive.
That's a vague statement.
Yes,
who?
And I want to remain as vague as much as I could.
Yeah, who is the person?
All right. We are not here to drop names, Abdikadir.
And why do you make that
statement? I'm trying to point out the issue is.
You could substantiate.
Remember, the issue about SHA is a Kenya Kwanza driven agenda.
So who are you driving at?
Is a Kenya Kwanza driven agenda.
Who is the head of Kenya Kwanza?
Now, being a Kenya Kwanza driven agenda, you know who is the head of Kenya Kwanza agenda. Who in your view? Have you forgotten? You as much as you do know. Abdikadir. Who is heading the Kenya Kwanza administration?
You are selective amnesia.
Why do you want him to blow the wind?
Abdikadir, you know, Abdikadir,
You know, certain analysis cannot be exposed.
we are in what you call a national TV.
Yes.
And sometimes issues need to be given the way they are.
Okay.
For people to digest. Our role is just to blow the whistle, and we have done it. And I've said clearly, this is total thievery of Kenyan funds.
Okay.
The system of 104 billion was not necessary. The intention to give the Kenyan people an affordable health was not the agenda.
Okay.
What the agenda was to make money. And that's why you find that, Abdikadir, the complaint on the ground, even in Gatanga constituency, is not there's no medicine, it's not that there's no doctor. They are saying the system is not working. Which system? The system which was procured at 104 billion. The agenda was purely to make money and continue making money.
Thank you.
And finally,
Yes.
and this is very important,
Yeah.
we can make noise here day and night. And even call the CS to the parliament, or even wherever we want to call him, and the PS, and even the CEO of SHA in chief.
Yeah.
But they have no control of that system.
Thank you. Honorable Makali Mulu, looking at the 15 services I listed, what Safaricom had presented and then entered the consortium that Council Nelson Harvey has pointed out, there was an incremental figure in every service that was provided for all the 15, therefore lifting the number from 48 to 104 billion Kenya shillings. And the highest in that view is the one that would cost more than 5 billion, which is a software-defined area in terms of network, and also health cloud data centers. How can this be resolved? Because, again, one of the contract clauses states that no government agency or entity can also get in an engagement to access the system to reproduce or produce a software of similar functionalities, according to the Auditor General. Isn't this a complete takeover of our healthcare system by shadowy parties and characters who we don't know?
You know, I think Avi did put this matter very well. And to me, I think he summarized the whole issue we are discussing. This was not a social health initiative. It was a commercial initiative. I think that statement says all about SHA. Now, that being the case, let's look at what the law says. The law says when the Auditor General does a report, she tables that report in Parliament. So, after tabling the report in Parliament, she has actually accomplished a constitutional mandate. Now, the question is, what does Parliament do with that report? Parliament now through PIC, and I can tell you for sure, when the report is tabled by Auditor General, Committee of Health has no business with that report. It's purely PAC and PIC. So the issues my colleague here is discussing don't come into this discussion. Because she'll have looked at the books, she'll have said whether things were done in line with the law or not. Now, the problem where it is coming is that when Parliament now gets this report, we start pushing the same report back to the executive. That's what the problem is. And that's why I agree with those who are saying Parliament has failed. Why? We should be able to say this particular office or officer has been identified to have misappropriated public resources. On that basis, which committee takes over in terms of impeachment and all that? But you see, the question is, who is going to be the first one to bury the cat in a situation where we know what is happening in Parliament? You see now with the broad-based, who talks for Kenyans? It's like everybody now is part of the government. So there are these issues which are really critical. And I think if we want to have this country, Parliament needs to take back their power and position, so that when this report comes to Parliament, if a certain CS is being assessed through this report to have misappropriated public resources, or our officers, or his officers, and the CS have done that, then the law is very clear what we need to do with such a CS. And I think the threshold in terms of requirement, constitutional requirement, to impeach either the CS or the president, I can see some areas where these thresholds have been met. It's only that Parliament is not taking that initiative to do what is expected of them. So instead, we push this back to the DPP, we push these things back to the DCI, to the ACC, but who is the appointing authority in these institutions? So it's a circus. I can tell you for sure, it's a circus. And I think if you really want to help this country, if you really want to help this country, the Auditor General has done our work. Can Parliament do their work through PAC? So that PAC reports are taken up. In Parliament, we have a committee called Implementation Committee. That's the committee which is supposed to follow up on all parliamentary resolutions. So that when a Parliament resolutes on a matter, that committee is supposed to take it over and ensure that it's implemented. But do you even know who is the chair of this committee yourself? And
Honorable Makali, given the frustrations you have expressed here of how Parliament is unable to undertake its functions as required by the law, did you normally contemplate on resigning?
Resigning as a Parliament, or what?
Yes, and as a parliamentarian.
But you know, the thing is, you know, we have said this many times. Yeah. Parliament is a situation where you have the majority and the minority. Parliament, our democracy requires that on any matter, you sort it out through voting. And always the majority carry the day. The minority will have their say. The majority carry their day. So in a situation where the law is that clear, that when you go on a matter and is put for voting, you either vote yes or no, and the yes carried, what will warrant you to resign out of it? What? Failure by Parliament. You'll have agreed to have. So unless we say, and the Kenyans have said, unless there's a law, I don't know if it would be able to help us, as a senior lawyer, whether there's a way Parliament in totality could be dissolved and then we forget about it, we get a new one. Maybe that would be the way out. But as I'm telling you for now, the way
you know what, let me tell you what.
Yes, I have your proof.
Chief Justice Emeritus David Kenani Maraga wrote to President Uhuru Kenyatta.
Oh, because of the gender.
That Parliament, as constituted itself, is unconstitutional. You get it? So there is no lacuna on what... In fact, yesterday we were in the Court of Appeal, and disappointedly, the matter has been in the Court of Appeal for the last 4 years.
Well,
the Court of Appeal is not making any progress. So the subterfuge that has enabled this maladministration is multifaceted. It is in the executive, it is in the legislature, it's in the judiciary. I think we just need to wind up this enterprise and start afresh.
So a governance structure then is the issue.
Yeah. The governance structure, or those who are running the governance
the whole architecture.
Yeah, the whole architecture.
When you go to, because what I've been saying, telling you is, the problem you find in Parliament, you find it in the judiciary, you find it in the executive. So it's all over the place.
The point is you are conferred more power by the Constitution than the other arms of government.
No, each arm of government.
For example, the exercise of power is, of course, across board. But the head of the country or the head of state, the president in this case, who is the commander-in-chief, can be impeached by Parliament where you sit.
Now, for me, I think the issue is, you know, by the way our governance structure is structured, we expect it to be independent, but at some point, independence. And I think what we have lost is this independence. That you find that even as Parliament does their work, there's a lot of interference from the executive. Even as judiciary do their work, there's a lot of interference from I think what I've been saying is, maybe time has come when we review our governance structure and say, are we getting it right? Okay. Because in a situation where then we are all over the place, then we will not help this country. We will remain where we are.
Yes, Honorable Madenge.
Abdikadir, let's go back to Parliament. Once the Auditor General report gets to the floor of the House, two organs of Parliament, the Public Accounts and the Public Investment Committees, take over. And they bring a report to Parliament. And here, allow me to ask my two colleagues to stop being evasive. Because under the standing orders, a committee can table two reports, a majority and a minority report. After that, the Parliament, as a committee of the whole House, debates and comes up with the unitary decision of the House, which then is supposed to go to implementation. Okay. And we have the Committee on Implementation once the decisions of the whole House have been made. And it is time that Parliament either was audited or audited itself in terms of its deliveries on these mandates. there was the question of that in the Constitution, the Constitution says Parliament shall take appropriate action. What would be the appropriate actions? Number one, we can recommend that the officers mentioned in the report cease to hold public office until they have the issue of guilty or not guilty is determined through the judicial process. Number two, we can also declare somebody unfit to hold public office, and on account of that, it will become the responsibility of that person to go to court and contest that decision. Number three, we can amend the laws and the legislation to fast track some of the actions that Parliament recommends. For example, under the EACC Act, we could amend Section 2.
Now, these things of amending are moribund. You guys must act, Mr. Madenge. You are not incapacitated.
Those are the actions. Those are the actions.
No.
It is the mandate of Parliament to legislate.
To execute the law as it is right now. Do not proposition ideas in the future.
When you have just complained here about the issue of the advisory by Justice Maraga to the presidency and the failure to dissolve Parliament, and you've said it has been in the corridors of justice for how many years?
4 years.
So then this is the question: what should happen?
Kick out
and you see, you've also talked about interference between one arm of government and the other one. You are in court yourself, wanting to indict
as members of the National Assembly, stop receiving small amounts of money to take decisions that are.
You know, I have challenged everybody who has sat here with me and told them, Wakili Havi, go raise a complaint against me personally, Member of Parliament, Nyeri Town constituency at the EACC, over receiving money, and by the time you finish filing the complaint, I will be seated outside there to respond.
Cannot take action.
So, Abdikadu, we are missing the point here, Abdikadu.
This is the question.
We are missing the point here, and allow me just 1 minute.
Briefly, yes.
You know, my colleague, let's help this country. And I think we need to help at the individual level and a collective level. My brother Madenge here, a member of Health Committee, they went to Mombasa on this issue. And when they went to Mombasa, money changed hands.
Can you prove that?
Wait a minute, let me finish.
Okay.
I just in a big old paper.
Money changed hands. And the report of the chairman, the members were not able to have a consensus. For us to help this country,
Before you proceed with the point of helping the country,
let me
prosecute
my point.
You will prosecute your point.
My point here is this.
Hold you to account. I'll give you.
I'll come there, Abdikadir.
I'll give you the time. You'll respond. You'll have enough time to respond and go ahead with it.
There's nothing to respond. What I'm trying to, I want to put the debate in this point.
I'm asking you then.
If the committee,
because you have made statements that you cannot substantiate.
I can.
How can you substantiate that money exchanged?
I can. I can.
Yes.
And I'm coming to that. Since we have an opportunity, and we have a member of Health Committee here, and we have this problem here, Abdikadir, we want to hear from him on what was deliberated and what recommendation they brought to Parliament. So at least, because I can see him reading many papers here and taking us to EACC and wherever. But the question on the table here is, what did his committee do to arrest this problem?
To avert this.
So at least again, we don't keep on parabolating on issues.
Yes, you can respond to that, Honorable Madenge.
The Health Committee, up to this point in time, has not tabled its report on the SHA system in Parliament. And when our chairman,
Dr.
Pukose, stood in Parliament, he read a statement which was not a report of the Health Committee, and that ruling was made by the Speaker. because we, as members of the Health Committee, raised issues with the statement because it was not a Health Committee's report.
Okay, and what were the details? And what were the details of the statement which was read by the chair of committee, Dr. Pukose?
I may not have them sharply in mind,
okay,
because it was not the position of the Health Committee, it was the position of Dr. Pukose as Member of Parliament, and also possibly as chair.
Okay, on the technology system, that is.
In tabling documents in Parliament, we append signatures. Yeah. That was a personal statement. It had only one signature.
The question is, what was deliberated?
His statement.
Let's go. Let's go.
You'll go to your point. Fair enough.
Ayub,
hang on,
listened to the plaintiff and the defendant.
Yes.
The plaintiff has, on a balance of probability,
Dr.
proven that there was exchange of money.
This is the question then. What were the disagreements over the committee level? Was it on the technology system for the Social Health Authority?
On the technology system, we had two key issues. Number one, the flow of the money through the system.
Okay.
Because the government was not investing a single coin in this system, the private sector was bringing in the money, right? Number two, so the flow of the money through the system, the upfront injection, up to the point the 104 billion is realized. We wanted to see the money flowing. And that is one of the requests that the committee put to the ministry, and the ministry has to respond. Up to this point in time, the response has not come. The second one, once the decision to go through the procurement process provided in law, the specially permitted procurement process, what due diligence was done to ensure there was competitiveness in identifying Safaricom as the lead?
There wasn't competitive bidding.
And there wasn't competitive bidding. Yeah. But under the specially permitted procurement and under the Public-Private Partnership Act, what are the provisions? And those are not things that you can do in one sitting. As a result, we needed the authority on procurement.
I think for me, Ayub, my colleague here is really taking unnecessary time. You know why? This matter has already been picked by the Auditor General. The issues he's raising. As a committee, the reason why they went to Mombasa was because this matter was of national importance and it was urgent. They went to Mombasa last year.
To sanitize.
Up to a time when the Auditor General is giving us the things they were discussing. They are now on paper. So the question is, why did they have to go to Mombasa? The other question is, this issue of private sector saying this money will be put up front. Abdulkadir, we know very well. The money Kenyans are paying, the money I'm paying and he's paying, is the money which is going to service this system. They will be getting the payment from this. You can't say this money is not from Kenya. We are the people paying the taxes through the 2.75 deductions. So when somebody says Kenyans are not paying, I get surprised. Because it is our money. They will only be recovering. They're only giving us, it's like a loan.
Allow me.
How do you respond to that? Because
listen, Abdulkadir.
Let me just give you a flow of what the Auditor General said. The 2.5% deductions at the Social Health Authority, 1.5% of track and trace solutions, don't know what that means, and 5% of the health facilities, all ending up in an escrow account on daily basis, according to her.
Now, let's come. Number one, you notice that this system, SHA, is only one of the users. And therefore, as a user, SHA was expected to make some payments, right? And the issue of 2.5%, when I said that the Health Committee is waiting to see the money flow, because those are the answers from the implementation. We are at that stage. Okay. Today, I would have been very happy to see the figure that the Auditor General has flagged and said, out of this 2.5% from SHA, this is the amount This is the amount in nominal figures.
Okay, this is the amount she said. I'll give you the amount.
Yes.
What Dr. Gadungu said was, so if you add 2.5% plus 5% plus 1.5%, which ends up in escrow account, that's 9%.
Wait. Just hold.
Order. Let's have some order.
Figures.
Yes.
Once you get the details.
Let's blow the wind.
Yes, that's 9%.
Council Harvey, order.
What is
so
the
9%,
the 9% is how much money?
In terms of the mathematics, the Auditor General says in 10 years that will yield 111 billion Kenya shillings.
Which now is
I'll come to the
against...
point.
Yes.
And the procurement for the system was 104 billion.
Yes.
So who will be the beneficiaries of the 7 billion on top?
Let me take you slowly.
Give the answer.
Yes, this is the answer. Number one, track and trace is supposed to come from KEMSA and Pharmacy and Poisons Board and the regulators in the health sector who will have their data in the system and therefore they seek verification. An example is KMPDC. To date, the track and trace component of this system is not in place. So this is a systems audit. The number, that is why I'm saying up to this point in time, this system has been in operation for 5 months. Where exactly how much money has moved in that pipeline? That is why the health committee asked for the cash flow tabulation.
And the ministry never gave you the response. Here, Dr. Gadungu says, this is the money, this is the amount, this is the flow.
And that is why I've asked, out of the 2.5% from SHA deductions, at this point in time, at the point of her report, how much money? In nominal figures, this number, 100 million, a billion, how much money?
She has given you, it's 111 billion, the 3 components.
That is over the 10-year period.
Yes,
that is over the 10-year period. We have only implemented the system for 5 months.
And
it's
she
not
has
working. So that is a projection.
Yeah.
It's not even working.
So our decision should be based on oversight is what has been implemented and what has happened. I am saying
details,
there are a lot of grey areas on this system.
Okay.
The 104 billion, are you comfortable with that, Mr. Madenge? 104 billion.
There are a lot of grey areas in this system.
Make them black
in
and
this
white.
Process. Until it is either dissected and we see clarity, if the grey areas remain, Parliament must pronounce itself.
Thank you. Yes, Councillor Harvey. I mean, when you look at all this, does it inspire optimism given the conduct of state officials, especially for a program that's meant to give Kenyans affordable and accessible medical care? If you look at the accounts of Kenyans who have been decrying about the system since its rollout, I mean, they go to hospitals and they are turned away. Out-of-pocket expenditure is exponentially growing.
Not so long ago, I think it was a month, there was this lady who caused a scuffle in the Ministry of Health because she couldn't get medical care. Imagine a situation where people, sick people, some even in wheelchairs, have to take up arms in revolution. What does that tell you? It tells you those able-bodied men and women in the National Assembly have failed to perform their constitutional functions and duties. It is sickening. It is sad. It is a period that will go down in infamy, that we had these people who have the capacity of doing right, but they fail to do it. And it should sadden everybody, every Kenyan, that money is meant for treatment of people is being pilfered. You know, where I come from, if you take money meant for a funeral and you steal it, you will die the following day. I'm surprised these thieves have not died the following day. They should. It's sad. It's an abomination. It's a curse. Imagine, you're pilfering 900 million per day. Money is meant to enable people improve on their health, live another day. Cancer patients, diabetes, people who are on dialysis, chemotherapy and radiotherapy. And you have a long face. You have the courage to come here on national TV and tell us about the committee this, the committee what. We're less concerned about committees. We want these people to get well. We want them to live long. And that's the responsibility of the government, the executive. And where the executive has failed, as is evidently the case, these three friends of mine must take action.
You think they can?
They have the capacity. They can. I think they suffer some reluctance. Let me give them the assurance. Nothing will happen to you if you do the right thing. Do it. Some of us, without the sanction of public office, are doing the right thing every day. You have public office. Boss, do the right thing. Madenga, do the right thing. Daktari, do the right thing. It's the good thing to do for now and forever.
All right. Let's now turn our attention to one of the other flagship projects by President William Ruto, the housing. And the Auditor General, also in her report, Honorable Murio, coming to you, says that, quote, the State Department of Housing entered into contracts with various contractors for the construction of affordable houses across the country at a total of 49.45 billion Kenya shillings. However, land ownership paperwork for sites where the projects are being implemented were not provided for the audit. She also says that the issue could hinder the sale of houses to the public, as sectional titles cannot be produced without the original title deed.
Abdikadir, you have not seen enough. Every signature project is purely meant to benefit individuals. Now,
okay, I'll get back to you. You need to rectify your mic. Yes, my assistant will be here. Yeah. Yes, Dr. Makali,
the issue is, I think that is a statement of fact, what you've read.
Yeah.
And the truth of the matter is, without the mother title, obvious, then you cannot get those other titles. And what it means is people are likely to buy houses. At the end of the day, then those houses might be repossessed either by whoever will have sold to them or the owners of the land. But the question is, Ayub, has any of these signature projects of this government succeeded? Because you look at that report, it is casting doubts on SHA fund. We've lost about 8 billion. Housing, there are issues. SHA has issues. So what is the underlying problem? And that's the question I ask myself. Is it that people never took time to think through these projects when they were conceptualizing them? Or is it that deliberately things have been done just to fail? Because you remember, when we were discussing the SHA fund, those days before it was implemented, we were giving the example where we were saying, this country has been having the Women Enterprise Fund, the Youth Development Fund, over the years. And these funds have never succeeded. Every time we have issues with them. And the question we're asking is, are there any lessons which could have been learned from those earlier funds, which would inform this SHA fund? And I think those statements were all ignored. Now, the SHA fund is actually in the same position where the Women Development Fund was, where the Youth Development Fund was, facing the same challenges, where Kenyans have taken loans and they have not paid. When you look at the details of the report, it even says people under the age of 18 have also accessed the resources. You wonder, how do you give money to somebody under 18 in form of a loan, somebody who doesn't even have an identity card, you know? So there are so many questions in some of these signature projects of Kenya Kwanza. You ask yourself whether at any point due diligence was done before the implementation started. Okay. And to me, these are the issues. And that's why you see the Auditor General is now picking these issues. And one thing I like about the Auditor General, she has the right personnel to do the work. People who take time to look at all these details and give us a final report. And what we should be asking ourselves now, in this panel, is, now, are we in a situation where, can we say today that let's do away with the SHA, let's do away with the SHA fund, let's do away with the housing project, to save Kenyans the money we are losing, and then come up with projects which are going to be of help to our people? Okay. That's a big question. Yes, if we can answer that question, I think we'll be making progress.
Addressing yes, addressing your issue on housing. Yes. You know, I'm the founder of UDA party. And I was part of the team who drafted the manifesto, which became the genesis of housing project. And I'm happy that my brother Ihavi was also part of that team.
He was there at the manifesto launch.
And maybe also did not tell you that when you hear Harvey calling me boss, it's not fake. I was his first employer.
Very good employer.
So we have come from very far. So when you see him articulating issues on TV, on national issues, I'm the person who has trained him. So he's an apple which has fallen not very far from the tree. But coming to the point. Coming to the point.
Very far from the tree.
Not far from the tree. Coming to the point.
Yeah.
The housing fund, there is no way in the manifesto where we were supposed to tell people contribute to the housing fund. It was part of the budgetary allocation to address the housing shortage. It came back that we were supposed now to come back and go back to the people's pockets. And remember our crowning call as UDA party, we were saying, once we get an opportunity to govern, we shall put money in people's pocket, not removing them from the pocket. So it went against our manifesto. Coming to the housing itself, what's happening is that we are putting the cart before the horse. You are building houses without finding out who has the title, who is going to occupy these houses, where are these houses. And I give you a very good example. In my constituency, the houses are being built in the middle of Del Monte Estate, land was given to the county government.
That's in Gatanga?
In Gatanga constituency. Okay. That's number one. Number two, in Gatanga constituency, there's nobody who does not have a house.
Nani hana kwao.
There's nobody who has a house. So what are we saying? Are we addressing a need, or are we addressing an agenda?
We raised all these questions before the brief.
All right? Are you addressing a need for you to tax people to build houses? Are you addressing a need, or are you addressing an agenda for a commercial enterprise? And for me, I normally say, a mistake is not a mistake for repeating it. Housing project is a sham.
Okay.
It should be disbanded.
So.
And people refund back their money. It's not serving. In fact, we are saying that money should be put in roads, because even if you put a house in the middle of nowhere, how can I get there? So better put me a road, I'll take myself home.
Okay, let me then ask you this. This was as a result of the introduction of the Finance Bill, now an Act of Parliament 2023. You remember that, Honorable Murio. Why did you vote yes for the Act which has introduced this?
I believed in this bill purely because the way it was crafted. Remember, the spirit of the law is proper, because again, housing is key to a human need. In fact, it's part of the three key ingredients of a human existence. The challenge here is the implementation. Number one, in terms of taxation, and number two, where those houses are being done. So, and we are saying, and that's why you heard me saying,
yeah,
you can implement on something and find it's not working.
Okay, so you said...
if it's not working, then disband it.
So in the manifesto, you said this was not clearly, looking at the manifesto, it wasn't supposed to have been levy, as you had said.
Absolutely.
So it came as a deduction, and you voted for that bill at the time in Parliament.
I did not vote for a bill.
How did you vote in the Finance Bill Act 2023?
2023, I don't even vote. I was not even there. I did not vote in 2023.
Pull back that soundbite?
You can.
Yeah. So
yeah, you can. Why not?
Yes.
I did not vote. Remember, for the first reading and the second reading. The second reading, I was not even there.
So what was your position?
Remember, the bill was omnibus, in the sense it had a number of good progressive interventions. And I'll give a good example. There was an element of levying money on avocado.
Yeah.
My voters in Gatanga has said no. And one of the things which was being removed from that was that issue.
So you voted
now,
yes, as per the record from the Hansard of Parliament we have. So let's see what you said, what you told the farmers, avocado farmers in Kandara constituency in the company of your colleague, the lawmaker. This is what you said following the introduction of the ETIMS, which was the tax on avocado, and you spoke in your mother language. This was in March 2024.
No he mundu renda uracionire mbeca icio akiambiria gucumikira chairman wanyu wake ari wana maura aimeta ukandara ngiuma haha thigwa yakwa ya mbere uria mwaura ndimwire andu agatanga na andu akandara tumekataa.
So you voted yes, and this was in Kandara constituency. Then you went on to tell the people not to subscribe for ETIMS by the Kenya Revenue Authority. In fact, you and your colleague lawmaker told the KRA officers that they should leave.
Abdikari, I've told you, a mistake is mere a mistake by repeating it. And it's important as human beings, when you see an error, don't procrastinate. Don't run away from it. Face it. If the avocado or ETIMS route on charging taxes on avocado, you find it is not working for your people, come out. Because laws are made by people and are amended by people, are repealed by people. And as we are saying, as a member of parliament, I'll quickly be able to go back and say, look, this law, the spirit is right, but the implementation is wrong. The same thing with the issue about the housing. The spirit of giving people houses is correct, but the practicality of making sure that people get those houses is very wrong. And it is hurting people, it's hurting people's pay slips. And what we need to do is to let people build their own houses. Let the government build roads, let them provide water, let them provide electricity, people will build houses for themselves. And that is the problem. In the SHA issue, we have seen it's not working. Members of parliament here, we passed that bill on the SHA issue. It is now what you're saying, let's go back and say this thing is not working, let us be disbanded. Okay. And also come back to the issue of e-citizen.
Yes, please.
Same thing, or the same system. You saw last week, in one quarter, the same company which has come up with this system of collecting the money has made 1.45 billion. And that money is not going direct to the consolidated fund.
Thank you.
Same problem. Okay. So we are saying the e-citizen might be a good system, yes, but let's correct it to be able to serve the people. Otherwise, as of now, it is serving certain individuals.
Councillor Harvey, I need to take your closing remarks and sample the feedback here. Looking at Honorable Muriu, his colleague also here, Teto MP, similar way, the voting for the finance bill now, an act of parliament 2023, which had introduced these taxation measures. I mean, is there the conscience on the part of parliamentarians as to where the people, the taxpayers, feel pinched?
Let me put one thing to emphasize what Boss has said. To be consistent is to change often when facts disclose themselves better. And it is to that extent that I welcome all members of National Assembly and senators who are able to see where they went wrong. There is nothing wrong in having made a mistake before. That is the good thing. You learn from your mistake. Those who never venture to enterprise will never learn, because you only learn from your mistakes. The problem is failure to remedy those mistakes. At the apex of leadership of this administration, we have failed to learn from our mistakes. That's the reason why every day an issue of livestock is not being handled by the cabinet secretary in charge of livestock, but it's being handled by the president.
Yeah, the president.
An issue about public health is not being handled by the cabinet secretary in charge of health. That tells you something. And it's something that needs to be remedied right now. And we have said this. We want President Dr. William Samoei Ruto to succeed for the remainder of his term in office, because we put him in office. His failure will be our failure. But if he doesn't want to succeed, then we must verily also help them to exit. And that must be done.
Okay. Dr. Makali.
Yeah, as you conclude, Ayub, you know, I think with the things which are coming out, and these are facts, it will not make Kenya Kwanza government powerless. It will not make them stupid. It will not make them indecisive. By looking back, learning from the lessons, correcting and moving forward in a better way. That's what I would say.
Okay. Yes, Honorable Madinga.
Thank you, Ayub. On the issue of the missing documents, title deeds.
Yes.
Across the country, very many parcels of land, government and private, do not have title deeds. And therefore, this should be a wake-up call wholesomely to address the issue. On the missing title deeds, or in this case, I would see it as an error of omission rather than commission. Because there is actually, again, nothing lost. It has been flagged, and that is the beauty of having different institutions of government undertaking certain levels and corrective measures being taken. As both Wakilis here have said, there is no problem in making a mistake. The problem is in failure to collect it.
Correct.
On the issue of providing title deeds on the housing projects, it can be easily be collected unless the land is contested. And Wakili Muriu, I've left myself asking, should Kenyans still trust you in the new formation where you are?
Why not?
Why not?
He's the founder of UDA, architect of the UDA manifesto, sitting in the UDA executive today. He should quit. I actually challenge him, not tell UDA to chase him.
You fix the house from inside.
You see, you cannot have your cake and eat it. He is not fixing it from outside.
From inside.
I said he's a double agent.
Mheshimiwa Madenge, what benefit do you think I'm deriving for being a NEC member in the UDA party?
I do not know the benefit.
Let me tell you, Madenge, let me put it today. Let me put it today.
Just allow me.
They are benefiting from my intellect.
Exactly.
And I'm getting nothing in return. Take that home to your boss.
I have not gained no benefit from your intellect, Wakili. Absolutely nothing.
Take
You
that
made no
home.
contribution.
your
You made no
inability
contribution
to perceive
as for me to get elected as a member of parliament in Nyeri Town. You had no personal contribution, neither corporate contribution.
So
it was the decision of the people of Nyeri Town constituency.
I answered your question. I told you, take that message you asked
So this
back to your
standard,
boss.
this standard that
Finish
you
up,
have,
Madenge.
that it is not a mistake to make
By
a
then your boss
mistake.
is watching.
Yes.
What you're saying.
That it is not a mistake to make a mistake. The mistake is repeating it. Apply that standard across.
Then
the
you
board.
guys should stop
Allow
repeating
those who have made their mistakes to collect them without having
Go and tell your boss
them to condemn them.
to disband SHA. Go and tell your boss
The
to
power-
disband national housing.
the power to
Go
disband
and tell your boss
On the
to
basis,
disband e-citizen.
on the basis
Kenyans
of
are
the
crying.
Auditor General's report, the power to disband SHA is in your hands. Do not disappear from parliament like you did, like you have said you did when it came to voting. Be in parliament, vote
also
when the
yours,
report is.
also yours and that of Dr. Makali.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
And by the way, he voted yes, so we have the records from the Hansards, and that goes unchallenged.
But he said he has learned from
He
it.
said,
said,
he said he didn't
won't
vote.
We have resolved that matter.
Yeah, it's resolved.
Yeah. And I'm the chair.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, sir.
Yeah, the Speaker of the House.
Well done.
So this is what you are saying on Twitter, formerly Twitter now, X.
This can't
The
be
hashtag is Citizen Daybreak. The SMS code is 22422 at Citizen TV Kenya and at Ayub Abdikadir. Frank Orinde says the SHA scandal raises questions about transparency and accountability in government. Who authorized the deal? Who failed in oversight? Who will bear the consequences? Leadership isn't about passing blame. It's about taking responsibility. The buck must stop somewhere.
Exactly.
Talai_Kilel says the magnitude of the fraud in SHA and the Hustler Fund isn't just a small scandal. It's an indictment of the government's ability to manage resources and serve the people. Godi Barasawere says, was it difficult for the government to seal the loopholes of financial leakages in NHIF instead of forming a whole new outfit? If the president admits that there were fraudulent claims under NHIF, what will stop the same to happen under SHIF or SHA? Kimani Kenneth says SHA is a scam from the start. How can the government justify investing 104 billion without subsequent investment in the healthcare workforce and expect that universal healthcare will work? Doctors and nurses have been on the streets every year. Rafio_Festa says the Auditor General's report exposes fraud not only in SHA but also in the Hustlers Fund systems. Clearly, accountability lies at the top. Bob Otieno Wino says it seems like each regime has a way of milking money from government's coffers for personal interests. We witnessed with the past one, e.g. Huduma number, which ended nowhere, like SHA and SHIF and the Hustler Fund 2 with the current one. Alex Mayore says the collapse of SHA was a setup from the start to be an avenue to loot from Kenyans. The leadership of this country has lost consciousness. SHA can't be reformed. The only right thing to do is to disband it.
Perfect.
Crispina Saddam says Parliament has totally failed Kenyans. Looking at the way a member of the Health Committee is struggling to comprehend simple questions is embarrassing. Why do they even go to Mombasa?
Madenge, do you have read that?
Total failure.
Madenge.
And this is from Facebook. Those were some from the X that you have sent in formally. Twitter. This is on Facebook because we have also been taking some. Tongoyo Sylvester says, imagine you are contributing your hard-earned money to help spearhead corruption. And just but a few, the last one here from Facebook, and this is our viewer. Thanks to him or her as well. Benjamin Stana says, you can't defend this government. The panelist majority talking of accountability, which the Gen Zs demanded, but this government is embezzling, squandering, and misusing public funds. Thank you, Honorable Duncan Mathenge, Nyeri Central Member of Parliament, Health Committee Member of the National Assembly. Thank you, Dr. Makali Mulu, formerly a member of the Budget Committee of the National Assembly, representing the people of Kitui Central. Councillor Nelson Havi, former President of the Law Society of Kenya, also joined us this morning, and his boss, Wakili Edward Moreo, Gatanga Constituency MP, and a member of the Justice and Legal Affairs Committee of the National Assembly. Gentlemen, much appreciated. Always a pleasure having you here on the broadcast, and thanks to you too. Up next is Health and Lifestyle with Safin Achieng Ouma, and we'll see you tonight on JKL. Moses Kuria will be up against Senator Richard Onyonka at 9 p.m. We'll see you then. Till then, good morning.